you definitely have a passion for helping the next generation of founders, of entrepreneurs, clearly, because just even in this answer, and one of the things you've mentioned a number of times to me is really helping women in technology specifically. Can you talk about what that means to you? Because you mentioned it a couple of times, and I'm curious, how do you do that?
Right. So it's I'll describe it as a lifelong journey. And occasionally, as I'm doing, I'll describe it as yet another panel, about women in tech and women founders and stuff like that. I kind of feel good about some of the progress that I've seen, and also sometimes I feel like I'm still having the same conversations I was having, 20 years ago. So it's mixed, is how I would describe it. So because I chose to be involved in IT infrastructure, enterprise IT B2B infrastructure, like storage, networking, data warehouse, like data centers with like blinky lights, like that's my thing. I dig it. I'm really into it. So because I chose that, for my sins, I do actually find myself often being the only woman in the room. And I'm in an area where there are fewer women who have been founders. Not there. It's not none, but it's a smaller number. So I like it or not, it became obvious to me that there was sort of a lack and a need, to be personally involved in that as an issue. And so over the course of many, many years, I'm going to say decades at this point, I've tried to do things kind of in a few layers. So like there's sort of like the macro sort of higher umbrella layer where you speak at events and you kind of are out on the circuit and you're constantly, sort of evangelizing and talking, and you're sort of saying, look, here's my journey. I was able to do it. I'm with a bunch of these other women who also did it. And so first of all, it's possible. And second of all, we're here, to be a network and support, a group for people. But then there's a little bit more of like the local stuff in Boston, which, I think, we'll talk a little bit more about Boston, where you can kind of be a little more proactive, right? And then finally, there's like at the most intimate and personal level where it's people in my own network, people in my friends, now kids of friends, who are thinking and starting and stuff like that. So I have two daughters, and I always have said to them that like I kind of have a formal policy in my head, which is if a woman entrepreneur or a woman who is building a career in tech reaches out to me and, anywhere on LinkedIn, a show, calls me up, whatever, I'll take the call and I'll get together with the person if I can and just sit down and talk with them and try to figure out like, what are they wanting to do and what is it that they need? And sometimes what they need is just encouragement. But other times they need really practical stuff. They need an introduction to that guy, Joe Show over there, who is going to help them to get to the next point in their funding journey or in their, they need a co-founder or something like that. And then other times they are stuck on issues of team building, right? In terms of like who should be in my founding team? Who should be in my early team? What do I need now? What are the skills I need? And sometimes that's introductions that I can make, and sometimes it's more just helping them think through it. So I've done a lot of, mentoring, advising, kind of both informally and formally, but you kind of have to think of it as layers of energy that you need to put in, and it has to be sustained, right? It can't just be like, oh, I feel like doing it this month and then I'm busy.
The part, you said something about showing people that it's possible. And in a number of these interviews that I've done now, I'd say at least 30-40% of them, the CEO I'm interviewing has said something to the effect of, this person, and they could name the person, showed me that it's possible, and whether it was a family member, a parent, or a mentor, or just someone they watched, saw at a conference. Hey, super, when you say it, it actually, I think there's some element that literally just knowing it's possible changes something in your like brain. Like, I could go do that. Why can't I go do that?
100%. And sometimes it's like, I want to do it, but I'm not ready to do it yet. And I'm trying to think about the steps I want to take in my career that will get me to a point where either I will become the founder and the CEO, or maybe that's not the aspiration. Maybe the aspiration is I want to be part of the founding team and I want to run this type of, functional area. And therefore I need to build skills. Either or, right? I think it's important to pursue all directions there. But, of course, in my heart of hearts, what I'm really like is like, why wouldn't you want to be the founder CEO? coolest thing in the whole world, right? So sometimes I'm a little like, you can do it. Don't limit. If that's what you think you want to do, don't be limited.